morning. It's like 5:30 in the morning. It's still dark outside, so I've been having labor-like contractions since about 2:30 or 3. But I'm going to try to sneak out and milk Thimble here this morning and hope that nothing picks up too quickly to get that done with so that we can get along with having a baby. Oh, it always feels like you got the wind knocked out of you after. At least that's what I remember about Clara. It took me a while to like breathe normal again. Oh, you're so cute. You're so sweet, buddy. He's here and it's a boy. So this is Samuel James. And we just wanted to share a little bit about the day that he was born, his birth story. And I remember back doing a video in the spring when we kind of announced that we were pregnant and we were gonna be having a baby, and I think I said something along the lines of, even if I'm out harvesting potatoes while in labor, like, we're gonna have a baby this October. And lo and behold, we were out harvesting potatoes and I was in labor. And so it was a sweet day, keeping up on the homestead and bringing him into the world. And so just to give you a little bit of the lay of the land, he is our 5th baby. He has 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters, so he was our tiebreaker. I had them all natural births. The last 4, the first one was in the hospital and the last 4 was born at home. So let's get into his birth story. We did it. We milked. I'm gonna go in and strain. It's kind of weird when I get contractions. They're really real, like they're very intense and feel very real and labor-like, but they're just not close together. So we'll see how they pick up in the coming hours. Yeah, every labor is different. We'll see what the day brings. Before I went out milking that morning, I had sent my sister a text message that said something along the lines of, I think today is gonna be the day, so be ready. But I'm gonna go out and milk our cow and I'll text you when I get back. My sister has been at all of our other births. She's a chiropractor. She's someone that our kids know and love and trust. And so it's just a really helpful person to be there. Something had just felt different about, waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning. That hadn't happened prior, that I woke up during the night. The contractions felt stronger. And so I was feeling pretty confident that today was gonna be the day. So I let my sister know that, be ready. I think today might be it. One question that I get a lot is, what do you do with your kid? Like, what happens with your kids when you're having a baby at home? And so I personally love for our kids to be there. Our daughter has seen all 4 of her siblings be born now, and all of our other kids have been there for all of their siblings' births. And I think it's so sweet for them to be there. And honestly, like, I think they know more about the human body and these things at, the ages of 10 and under than I knew, like, when I got married. And so it's just really, really cool to have these very natural, real conversations as things happen on our farm or things happen in our home, where it's normal, it's natural, it's a part of life. And so they ask a ton of questions and they know, just the realities of birth and why it happens. And so I love having them there, but it's also really nice to have someone there to be with them, like my sister. So during labor, right, labor is probably not going to progress very well if you have kids that are constantly asking you to, help them in the potty and make them food and, do just all the basic needs that kids can have. And so to have someone there to help and to play games with them and to get them what they need is really, really helpful so that I can focus and concentrate on relaxing and having a baby. My sister ended up getting there around 9:30 in the morning, but in a lot of ways our morning just progressed as it normally would. We did some reading aloud, some of our basic homeschooling stuff. We watched World Watch, our favorite kind of homeschool news little video segment, and just did a lot of the things that we would normally do in the morning. I made everyone tomato soup and grilled cheese, and we had that. But then I knew that after lunch, we move into kind of a quiet rest time in our house. So our youngest daughter takes a nap and the rest of our kids have some quiet time. And so I knew during this time, okay, I need to kind of just relax and really try to focus on seeing what can I do to get this party started and get this labor going. Contractions were still they were still consistent. Nothing had petered out, but they were still probably anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes apart at this time. So nothing felt urgent. I had called my midwife in the morning, maybe around 10:30, just to let her know that I thought today was gonna be the day. We are in a practice of midwives. There's 4 of them, but none of them are very close to our house. They're probably all about an hour away. And so I wanted to let them know just so they could be ready that we're probably gonna have a baby today. One of my favorite gifts to both give as a gift as well as ask for our kids and our family are the crates from KiwiCo. So we are always looking to incorporate more experience-based gifts, and these are perfect because each box, and they have something for every age and every stage that's perfectly designed for kind of that skill level. And each box is open and go with just these really fun, creative learning experiences, but also just really fun, sweet, hands-on things that I would never be able to come up with myself. It's perfect for a rainy day.
Mommy, look good?
Yeah, it looks great.
So I love seeing my daughter build this robot from scratch and then turn it on and watch it go, and just seeing her face lit up is just so fun. Or my son design this backpack and use water and color squares to make this just sweet personalized backpack that he designed and made himself from start to finish. I love that KiwiCo crates are high quality materials and just really practical, right? Like a backpack, or my son made a pencil case that he's so excited about using. So it's things that they can both build themselves but also use for the future.
Whoa.
The crates from KiwiCo really do make a perfect gift this holiday season if you want a gift that's gonna help your kids to create and make memories. You can use code FROMSCRATCH for 50% off your first monthly crate. Just click on the link in the description box below.
There. Can I go try it out?
There are lots of women out there who have short labors, right? Who get their first contraction and baby is there within just a few hours. I am not one of those women, so I have always had really long early labors. I would say with each of our kids, they've been at least 12 hours of early labor. And at some point things shift. And I think for me, as I've had more kids, the thing that has shifted is that the early labors are still just as long, but then once active labor does happen, it seems like with each subsequent birth that, you know, active labor time has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter. And so with our 4th baby, Clara, we have a video of her birth story as well, but I had broken my ankle in 2 places with her at 40 weeks and 4 days pregnant. It was late winter and I slipped on some snow outside and I broke my ankle. And so that was quite the week leading up to her birth. I wasn't able to bear weight on it. I couldn't have a water birth. I couldn't get it wet. Just figuring out how do you have a baby with a broken leg? But we did, and her labor, I had so many people praying for a quick and easy delivery, and thankfully we had a quick and easy delivery. And while I still had that long kind of early labor with her, the active labor and the kind of transition and all that part had gone very, very quickly. And so I was hoping that it would be similar this time around. And I think something for me that really shifted this whole labor and delivery thing. So I had our first 2 kids, I had natural births. We had taken the Bradley method classes before we had our first, and those had been great, labors and delivery experiences. But then between our second and our third kiddo, I was actually at one of my sister's births, and I watched her have her third baby, and it was such a transforming experience because I walked into her house. She was in labor. She was laying on the bed. She was really calm. She was really peaceful. She was listening to some sort of soundtrack in the background, and I walked in. It was it was a very quiet, dark experience, and as soon as I kind of said hello, she's like, "Oh, my water broke," and then she proceeded to, I think, get in her bathtub, and it was like within a very short amount of time, she had a baby. It was really eye-opening to me because I don't feel like that's how my previous two labors had gone. Like, they had been great, but I wouldn't say they were calm or relaxing, or like the baby just kind of came. She was using some of the methods from like the hypnobirthing class. I don't know that she actually took the class, but she was listening to some of the hypnobirthing tracks. And so before my third baby, I downloaded the Christian hypnobirthing app, and I started listening to those. They have like affirmations and just kind of these really relaxing, positive, affirming sort of birth tracks that you can listen to. And so it was such a different birth experience. He came so much more quickly when I was in that very relaxed, very calm state. And so that had really shifted kind of just my perspective on birth, of just like the importance of being calm and being relaxed, and really trying to make that be a priority in our births. And so I hadn't been listening to the Christian hypnobirthing tracks like I had for the previous ones, but I just knew kind of after this being my fifth time doing this, like what I needed to do. I needed to get my body to be calm and to be relaxed for kind of this process to happen just as smoothly and naturally and easily as possible. And so anyways, fast forward, it was the afternoon. Our kids, Claire went down for her nap. The rest of our kids were having a quiet rest time, and I didn't just want to lay around. I had energy. I wanted to be moving. I wanted to be maybe doing what I could to kind of speed this process up, get those contractions to be a little closer together. So I went out for a walk. I did some laps around our property. And when I came in, they were talking about, getting dinner ready. And Jim said, "Hey, you want to go out and harvest potatoes with me?" I was kind of like, well, why not? Why not harvest potatoes while I'm in labor? And so we grabbed the bins, we went out, and we started harvesting potatoes. And I'm not sure that I was a whole lot of help to him, because I would say kind of in this process of going for a walk and then going out to harvest potatoes, my contractions did get closer together. So instead of being 10 to 15 minutes apart, they were probably more in that 5 to 10 minute apart range. Not getting less strong, if anything, getting more intense as we went, starting to kind of really I couldn't, walk through them. I was needing to stop and to kind of get into a more comfortable position, things like that. But we continued, we kept going, we harvested potatoes, and actually these were the first potatoes that we had harvested on our homestead for this year, and we were super excited about how many potatoes we got. I think it was the most potatoes per plant that we have harvested yet. And so it looks like it is going to be a great potato year. But we just harvested 4 plants worth. That was plenty for that day. Enough to have dinner, enough to have potatoes for at least the next few weeks before we're able to get out and harvest the rest of them. And at this point, it did seem like things were picking up. Like, in hindsight, this probably would have been about the right time to call the midwife and let her know, hey, you should probably think about coming over this way. But I think in my head, I was still very much under the impression that contractions were 15 minutes apart and we had lots of time. And I don't love, that a watch pot doesn't boil. I don't love the midwife just being here for many, many hours watching me have these contractions 10 to 15 minutes apart if things aren't really happening. So I think I was a little bit in denial in my head about how close we actually were getting to baby coming. But at this point I did kind of just want to be by myself a little bit more. So I went into our bedroom and just kind of hung out there while everyone else was making dinner and getting everything ready out there, and just continued to have contractions probably closer to 5 minutes apart, even though I don't know that I necessarily realized it at the time. I have never been one to like to time my contractions. I just like to let the process kind of happen naturally. I know everyone always says to time them so you know, but I don't like to keep track, because then I feel like it just is something that gets in your head and you're like, well, how close together were those and how close together were those? And I like to let the process happen naturally. And so I wasn't timing them, I was just letting them happen. But because everyone else was out there kind of getting dinner ready, no one was really checking or timing how close they were together. And so I just did that for a while. When dinner did finish, I sat down, we all ate together, ate some steak and potatoes, and even they would say at that point, it didn't necessarily seem like I was in active labor. Like I was eating, I had, regular contractions, but they really still weren't anything crazy. And I guess I should add, while I was in here having contractions, Jim and my sister did call the midwife, and she had asked them how far apart were my contractions, and they didn't really know because I was in here and I wasn't timing them. And so that's when they really did start paying closer attention. My sister started timing my contractions throughout dinner to see how close they were. And at that point, I think they were kind of in that 5 to 6 minute apart range. And so that's when they did call the midwife to let them know, okay, you should probably think about coming. But of course, as you would have it, right, there was this big harvest moon. Everyone was gonna have babies at the same time. So when they called the midwife, she was actually on her way to another birth at the time, and it was dinner time. It was kind of rush hour at this point. So the backup midwife lives close to the big city, and so traffic was gonna be really bad at this point. So we were kind of like, it's okay, we'll hold off another little bit till maybe after dinner time, and traffic were to die down, and we'll see where things are at. And so no one was coming to our house immediately, and we kind of just let things go a little bit longer. They were cleaning up from dinner, and I was just having contractions here in my bedroom. And then backing up just a little bit, it's hard to remember. He was born a week ago, so I'm just trying to remember all the details of how everything went down that day. Jim had blown up the tub. We were planning on having a water birth in the tub, so he blew up the tub. I believe it was after lunch, so we would have that ready. After we finished dinner, my sister was teaching our kids how to play Rummy Cube, and so they were all busy doing that, and I was kind of in our bedroom just having these regular contractions. And I think I was kneeling on our bed, and Jim is so bummed that he was actually filming at the time, or he thought he was filming at the time, but turns out later he actually had forgotten to hit record, so he missed this moment. But I was having a contraction on our bed. I was on my knees with like my hands pressed against the wall, and kind of when I got to the peak of that contraction, my water broke. And I have never had my water break with any of our other kids. I've never experienced that sensation. It really did feel like there was like a water balloon just popped. And so that was really cool. I was really glad I got to experience that. So my water broke. I remember my sister looking at the time, and it was 7 o'clock. I think it was 7:01 in the evening. And so immediately I was like, okay, because usually when your water breaks, especially at this point when I'd already been having early labor for quite some time, things were getting closer together. I feel like that was the first time I was like, okay, things are really gonna start happening here. And so I started, came out, I was like, start filling up the tub right away. So everyone was kind of in a scramble trying to do that, and I'm trying to figure out where I should go or what I should do in the meanwhile. While this is happening, I did get a text from the midwife letting me know that she was on her way, and I think she was still about half an hour or 40 minutes out at this point, but she was on her way. So after my water broke, kind of my immediate reaction was start filling up the tub. So if you've never had a water birth or experienced this, what you do is you turn the hot water heater to as high as it goes, because it takes a lot of water to fill one of these birth tubs. And so, you want it to be as hot as possible. You start with really hot water, and then you can add some cooler water just because you need it at a certain temperature. And so they started filling that up with like this hot water. And in the meantime, I think this was kind of the first time that it really hit me of like what was about to happen. And I remember having this moment, because I feel like once you have had several kids, I just don't really think about birth, maybe like I had for our previous ones, where you're kind of thinking through that and having time to, I don't know, get scared or fearful or anxious or any of those things. And so I remember turning to Jim at one point and just saying, we were standing in the kitchen and just saying, like, I don't need to be scared, right? I can do this. I don't need to be scared. And giving him a hug, and he was just like, no, like, you don't need to be scared. You were made for this. You can do this. And so kind of just taking a deep breath and realizing, kind of going into that relaxation, calm, I can do this. I can trust my body. It knows what it's doing. It can do this. And so trying to get myself in that place of relaxed and calm, knowing that, transition is coming, while they are frantically trying to fill up this tub as quickly as possible. And so while this is happening, I go to use the bathroom, and I never make it out of the bathroom. Oh, I don't know that I'm gonna make it to the tub then.
Okay.
I'm gonna just put the clothes back.
I think I started, I was all wet from my water breaking, and I started having kind of transition contractions there. And so Jim came in there with me. He's still like back and forth between trying to fill up the tub. And at one point I'm down on my hands and knees, and I just look at him and I say, stop worrying about the tub. It's not going to happen. Just be here with me right now. Like, we're gonna have this baby here. It's not gonna be in the tub. And so he's like, okay. And so at that point, contractions are close together, and they're strong. And really it went from, what it felt like to me was that it went from early labor, contractions are 5 or 6 minutes apart or more, to my water breaking, and all of this sudden, probably 10 or 15 minutes maybe after my water breaking, hitting transition, having maybe 5 minutes of those, just like a few contractions that were close together, and all of a sudden just needing to push this baby out. It was all so fast. I think that active labor part felt like it just didn't even really happen. Like, it just felt like it went from early labor to transition and, pushing a baby out. And so it wasn't glamorous. We have a small bathroom. This is where Clara was born too, but I was on my hands and knees pushing in the bathroom. Jim was behind me. The midwife was still 15-20 minutes out at this point, but once the train is moving, there's no stopping it. And I think because we had an unassisted birth with Clara, we were a little bit more prepared for it this time, kind of knowing what this is like. And he caught her, and so he felt a little more confident of like knowing what this process is like and that he could do it. And so he was behind me, and pretty quickly, I think I only pushed 3 times, once to kind of push the baby down, then the head came out, and then the rest of the body. And he was right there. He was catching the baby, while all of our kids and my sister were all huddled around the door watching this all unfold. And so it was a really, really sweet, fast moment, but we are so grateful.
It's a boy.
It's a boy.
It's a boy. He's doing great. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Can I pass him up?
7:26.
Give
me a minute.
All right. Hey, buddy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Oh. There's that beautiful noise. All right, what do we need?
All right,
Which
I need to go under.
So I remember when Clara was born, it happened so fast, and I think we were all just in shock that she was coming right now, that we weren't really ready at all. And so I remember a couple minutes after she was born yelling out to my sister, "What time is it?" Because, you know, of course you need to know, you know, the minute that they were born. And my sister was like, "It's 12:01." And this was like 12:01 in the middle of the night. And so we're pretty sure that she was born at midnight based on kind of how everything happened, which is just funny because that's kind of a crazy time to be born. But with this one, we were much more prepared. So I remember my sister had, our oldest daughter was on watching the clock to know, like, okay, when this baby comes out, you need to know what time it is. And some of our other kids were going back and forth, and they were on midwife duty. It was kind of fun to be a part of all of that. And they were like a well-oiled machine after he came. And so anyways, Jim caught him. And so it's always been kind of our tradition with each of the babies that Jim announces their gender. And so he's, you know, he tells us all that it's a boy and hands him to me. And then I'm always the one that kind of tells everyone what his name is going to be. So Samuel was actually the name that we were planning on using for our last baby that was a boy. But then very last minute, we ended up changing to a different name. So it's always been a name that we've liked and we're planning on using. And so now we have. And so now we have a Samuel. Baby Sam, guys.
Baby Sam.
So cute.
And then about 10 minutes after, oh, and I guess I should mention, you know, he looked great right away. He was crying, he was healthy. We got warm towels and we wrapped him in those. And so there was just no concern. There was nothing that indicated any sort of problem. And typically, if a baby does come really fast like that, there's usually not any sort of problems. It's usually if a baby is slow in coming or stuck or there's something else, that's usually when more of a complication would arise. And so with him coming so fast, we knew that he was healthy, that he was doing good. There was nothing indicating otherwise. And the midwife was really close to coming. She only got there about 10 minutes after he was born. And so she, you know, came running in, and I'm still just kneeling on the floor of the bathroom at this point with him. They come in and they know what they're doing. So they help get everything cleaned up and move me then from the bathroom floor to our bed so that I can rest comfortably. They're taking everyone's vitals all the time to make sure that he's doing well, that I'm doing well. They clean everything up. They fill out all the paperwork that needs to be filled out, while I and, you know, the rest of our crew can just hang out and just to soak up all of the time with Sam and just experience all that sweetness that comes kind of post-delivery. So that was it. That's how he joined our family, from starting the day milking a cow and harvesting some potatoes along the way, going for walks around the field, to at 7:30 in the evening welcoming him into our family. It was beautiful. It was a really sweet day that we'll all remember and are so grateful for. And it's interesting, I'm a week out postpartum now. So he was born 1 week ago, and I don't know, like, I feel like with each subsequent birth and delivery, right, like I should feel, as I've gotten older and whatever, I shouldn't feel as good, but I honestly feel like I've recovered more quickly from these last couple births as I've gotten older than I did with the previous ones. And maybe it's because the births were just easier, but I feel really good, and I'm so grateful for that. I feel really good, but also just taking this time to enjoy as many of the baby snuggles as we can get because this is such a sweet, sweet time. So thank you. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for loving our family. We so, so appreciate it. Oh gosh. Sorry. He went on my foot.
Oh boy. Oh, Mr. Toad. He didn't pee on you, did he?
I hope not. Oh man. If that doesn't make you have a baby, I don't know what will.
Oh.